Hey, Gateway Youth and friends, it is Adam for our weekly Ask Adam Anything video. This week the question is, why can I trust the Bible? So this is a great question. I'm going to hop right into it. There's a couple things I'm going to address within that question. Hopefully this is helpful to you, but I do want to point out, this is a big topic with great resources. If you'd like more reading, more information, some of the footnotes of this, just let me know. We'd love to get that stuff in your hands. But the first thing is, when we ask that question, why should I trust the Bible? There's one question within that has to do with the validity of what you're reading being reliably what was written. People will sometimes use this analogy. They'll call it telephone. They'll be like, oh, people wrote something and someone else wrote something, and then they keep changing it. It's like the telephone game, and so what you have today isn't what was really written, so the Bible's not trustworthy. Well, anyone who would make that claim, I'll say this from a kind perspective, I'd say they have no idea what they're talking about. And what do I mean that they have no idea what they're talking about? Is the historicity, meaning the historical defense of the transmission of Scripture over time being reliable, is beyond compare to any other ancient writing. It's not even like it's one of the most consistent or top 5 consistent. It is like, here it is with its consistency, nothing else is even close to it. Things like the Dead Sea Scrolls, which are dated back to before the time of Jesus, which were discovered, they are exactly what was written in the Old Testament. We found the Dead Sea Scrolls, so what you read in the Old Testament, you have reliability for that. And we have early 1st and 2nd century documentation of the New Testament in scrolls and also letters of church leaders when they would quote different portions of the New Testament, that you can reliably construct almost the entirety of the New Testament from 1st and 2nd century sources that you can actually see in museums, that tells you what you're reading in the Bible is what was written in the Bible. Exactly. There's nothing that, if you're worried that someone changed something in the Bible in the 7th century, the 12th century, the 15th century, that's not true. You can have absolute reliability that what you're reading is what was written. So that's the first thing, just looking from a technical standpoint about the reliability of scriptures when you read it. The second is, it could be a reliable document that what someone wrote then is what you're reading now, but that doesn't change whether or not I should trust it. Because, if I took a book by Mark Twain and I sealed it in a plastic bag, and 1,000 years from now you open it up and it's still the same book, it doesn't prove that it's a true story about Tom Sawyer. So you say, well, how do I know it's true? And so this goes to the heart of looking more in depth to what the Bible discusses, what it points to. It's extra biblical evidence, meaning it references something in history, and then is that a true event that you can verify outside of Scripture? One, there are countless examples of this. That'd be whole other videos of just going through ways that you can look and say the Bible, beyond compared to any other ancient document, is accurate and reliable in what it details about history, so you can see that there's a truth to it. And the fact that it's so unique, it begins to put together let me say a case that you say that there's nothing like this. There's something unique beyond my comprehension happening with this book that nothing else, no other document in history is like. It begins to give you confidence that what you're reading is there's something special about it. But ultimately, what all questions have to boil down to is the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Because even the Bible is true. If Jesus' death and resurrection are not true, then who cares about the rest of it? It's just baloney. So you have to then, therefore, look at the reliability of the testimony of Jesus Christ in the New Testament. Did he die? Did he rise again? Extra biblical evidence, meaning people outside of Scripture, people who aren't even Christians, the historicity of that event is extremely solid. There are people who were atheists who studied it from a legal perspective, and they would come out and say, this is one of the most defensible events in history. And if someone can die and rise again from the dead in a unique and powerful way that changed the world, and then that person has something to say, you would say this person has the authority to speak in a way that no one else has to speak. I will trust their words. And Jesus himself, in his words, speaks to the authority and the trustworthiness of Scripture. So you have to look at that. One, just the archaeological evidence. The Bible is exactly what it's supposed to be. Historically, it didn't get changed. That Jesus himself, with historical evidence, is he did die and rise again. He speaks to the reliability of Scripture. But ultimately, here's why we have that question. This is the heart issue you might have. Here's the heart issue that your friend might have when they ask, is this reliable? Should I trust the Bible? Is we want to find reasons to discount the Bible because the Bible slams up against our own sin. Because if Jesus did die and rise again and confirms and affirms the testimony of Scripture, that means there are things in my life that must be in submission to God's revealed truth that I don't know if I want to give up yet. Because I only want to know if I should trust the Bible because the Bible is telling me something that maybe I don't want to hear. So when you think about this, when you talk with your friends, absolutely, there's ways you can show the reliability of Scripture, but realize you're talking about a heart issue. It's sometimes your heart issue, it's often their heart issue. Because if it's true, which we can have confidence that it is, then there are many things in our lives that have to change because God is a holy and just God who has the right to tell us what our lives should look like. So I hope that helps. Again, there's a lot of resources that go a lot deeper than what I just did, but I hope this is a good starting point for you guys to have confidence. But ask me any more questions you have, any follow-ups. Have a great week. Can't wait to see you at Youth Group.